little different in here. This is the new studio for the Gentleman Gym establishment.
It is. So, hi, this is, of course, it's been a little bit of a long time. Dare I say, maybe even a couple of months or so since we had our last Tailor and the Dressmaker show. And as Mr. Jim said, we are sitting in his illustrious, brand spanking new home studio. So, we've changed locations a bit. We'll be jumping around between his studio and my studio. Mr. Jim is out of his larger studio. And we're just kind of streamlining our efforts and everything else we got going on. We have some job changes there a little bit here and there we'll talk about. There's a lot of good stuff going on. Ain't that right, Mr. Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're happy about that. But of course, we're so sad we could not be with you guys for so long. We just need to take the time. But we're glad to kind of be back. So that's a good thing.
That is a good thing. You know, since we saw you last, like I say, I've made a lot of changes business-wise. Now, I built a home studio. Like most of you guys had that in the first place.
Ta-da! It's very nice.
And with that said, you know, I have for the past 40 years had what we call brick and mortar. And that's good. It depends on what you're doing. Okay? I don't do the classes like I used to do with multiple people. I only do private lessons now, and I've got quite a few people still coming in from all over America to take private lessons.
He does, y'all. He does. So if you were interested in any way of stuff, now, so let me just toot this here. So one thing I think sometimes people forget, and we don't like to push ourselves or what we do on anybody, but what our whole goal is to make your lives easier as sewers, to help you get to a level where you can perform, function, do your thing, be a master at your craft. There are some things in life you cannot get to just by sometimes picking up a book and reading them and studying, or even looking at YouTube videos. I hate to say that. There's something to be said about individual coaching and teaching. I know that personally because I get with people. That's how I actually met Mr. Jim. I wanted to learn a little bit more about tailoring. We bumped into each other. So let me talk to somebody as an expert. So when I tell you people do come from all over the place, they do. And now with this private studio, it's so much easier. I mean, he's like right here. Everything is in just right here. And you get to soak up all his knowledge that he's had for 50 plus years and get what you need. It is an investment if you want to really grow your sewing. I can't encourage it enough. I can't.
Thank you, because I'm real proud of the students that I have put out and the ones that I've helped get to another level.
Yeah, because they're doing big things now.
They really are.
Really big things.
And even my private students that have come that weren't necessarily going to make an industry for themselves out of this have all of a sudden found that by upgrading how they did certain things, people start knocking on their door again.
Yeah.
And they're taking them in because they have other professions.
Yeah.
You know, they have other professions. But regardless of the other professions, if you're going to make it and wear it for yourself, you want it to look the best. I'm a stickler for that.
You're so right. Why not look like it came out of a high-end store? There's no reason not to. So anyway, with that being said, we are excited to announce a few things. We're going to talk about, of course, we mentioned Mr. Jim's new studio. And for those tuning in that don't know us very well, we'll just kind of reintroduce. I'm Victoria Baylor. I'm the dressmaker half of this. I've been sewing for over 14 something plus years, kind of picked it up as a hobby, quickly got really good, mainly self-taught. Started sewing for clients, bumped into Mr. Jim about 4 years ago. We joined forces. He's a premier tailor here in town. Had just gotten here around that time, maybe a couple of years.
I've been here 6 years now, so it's 5 years ago.
That's right. Yeah, so it's been a bit. Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, because it's 2013 I met you. And then he had a premier shop in Atlanta. So you got to introduce yourself, sir.
That Gentleman Jim the Tailor. I have been blessed. I've been in this industry now for 57 years.
Wow. And
every time I add another year, I think back, because I first entered the industry in 1961, and I joke about it, but it's real. Most of y'all weren't born in 61.
That's just real talk.
Okay.
I was in heaven somewhere chilling.
You know, coming out of New York, I landed in Atlanta, and I stayed in Atlanta for 38 years before I came to Savannah. But my background has just been so overwhelming that I tell people all the time, sometimes I'm amazed at what I've accomplished in this. I've got a new series that will be coming out in about a month, and I'm telling the story in its entirety about growing up in New York, moving into Harlem, getting the background that I got at the High School of Fashion Industry in New York City in early 60s. Actually, the first time I ever sewn in my life was 1959. I'd never sewn before. I'd never seen a sewing machine up close until I went to that school. Now, I'm blessed to have gotten the formal training.
Yes.
And then I'm blessed to have gotten the industry training. See, that's kind of a key to it. So when you come into my studio here, that's the way I prepare you. The way the industry does things. Not because somebody taught you or somebody said this, and I'm not saying that that's wrong, but in the industry, the key to it is time is money.
Yes.
Now, if you're sewing for yourself, it's not about you making other money, it's about your time.
Which is valuable.
Right, and how you value your time.
Yeah, it's worth more
So
money.
I've been blessed to be able to be that part and be that instrumental in a lot of you guys' lives. I'm not going to stop. I tell everybody I'm quitting, but that never seems to happen.
I've heard this man say, I don't even know if you use the word retire. I think he did say, like, he's like, I'm going to stop sewing. And I would just, it just got to the point I would just like look at him. And look, here we are with this. Here we are,
still at it. So, like I say, I do the private lessons. You guys know how to contact me. On all my social media, there's some kind of contact point where you can find me. I've got people, like I say, that just find me and want to come. And I'm going to share this story. I'm not going to share a name, but there's a lady coming to me very shortly who says she had been studying with a tailor for over 15 years, and she still can't get it right. Now, I tell people, it's not that he doesn't know what he's doing. The key to it is he or she able to transfer the information from them to you.
There you go.
That's not the, there are a lot of great sewers out there, but can they transfer the information? Transferring is teaching you a way to get it done in the least amount of time.
We had a conversation about that the other day, and I was floored. I said in 15 years, she should have been a master tailor herself. I mean, that's a long apprenticeship. And you're absolutely right. That's what it comes down to, being able to communicate and to teach. And, you know, my background might be a little bit different from Mr. Jim, and my expertise may be a little bit different. I'm more so on the dressmaking end and making garments. But I also, too, just like you, have a passion for the detail of knowing how to do something and how to communicate, how to do it precisely so people can shift their understanding and shift their practices. Because what we find, Mr. Jim's right, people, it's easy for sewers to get pigeonholed and get a little stuck. You're used to doing something one way, and then it's just if someone shifts, and I know even Mr. Jim, just because he's way more experienced than I am, I'll come all the time and be like, let me pick your brain about something, Mr. Jim. I did it this morning, like, let me ask you about something. Because I always like to take what I know and then his years of experience that I haven't had. So that's what we're just telling you. But the reason I'm saying all that is because I wanted to establish our expertise for anybody that didn't know or wasn't sure, because we will be, in addition to Alethia Hudson, headlining her awesome So Much Talent sewing retreat this summer. And we are super, super excited. We're super excited that she thought us knowledgeable enough to bring us along in our own respective fields and to teach. And then B, we're excited that we actually get to meet and see a lot of you guys, and we'll be doing one-on-one workshops. So I'm going to give you a little bit of details about that, and we hope you sign up. You do not want to miss this opportunity.
If you're in the Augusta area.
If you're not, and if you're not, you can fly. Just like you come see Mr. Jim, come fly. But it will be July 19th to the 21st. You can find more information at SMT Sewing Retreat Facebook group. It's going to be at the Augusta Marriott, the Convention Center. Alethia has everything like lined up, from hotels to all the activities. Everything is just going to flow. 3 full days. Fun itinerary. Mr. Jim will be speaking on tailoring, kind of like covering the issues that sewers have, the most common issues. I'm going to actually, because I am a certified color consultant and image consultant, in addition to being a professional sewer, I'm going to use my knowledge from those two fields and talk to sewers about, or the attendants about, picking their right colors, learning how to pick the right styles for their body type. Because remember, it's more than just sewing. You got to translate that so it looks perfect on you or whoever you're sewing for. So I'm super excited about that workshop. And then Miss Alethia is actually going to be covering some stuff too. I'm just trying to dig up what she's going to be doing, but you can read all about it. I know she's covered a full scale of stuff on sewing herself. And the way it's broken down is that, anyway, go check out the site. But I know they're going to have a ball the last day. So we all get to dress up and wear our finest stuff and, you know, walk the runway. So, so a lot of good training, a lot of good interacting, all that stuff.
Let me tell you guys something about when workshops become available to you. If you can, you take advantage of them for one reason only. When you can see hands-on, and you could get enough out of it. Yes, there is the fanfare of the camaraderie with everybody, but you really come to learn something.
Amen, brother.
If you guys, Mimi G is a good friend of mine. I went to California, worked her workshop about 3 years ago.
Yeah, we did. I remember that.
Victoria went with me.
That was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. But we're here to teach you guys some things. Not that you're not taught at hers. But you guys can go all the way to California. I'm quite sure you can come to Augusta, Georgia.
Again, and one thing I love, again, why I reference Mr. Jim and his industry standards is because anybody can make a skirt. You really can follow directions and do that. It's not very hard to do. But when you learn to do it faster, quicker, sew it better, know kind of like the notions, the right ins and outs, that's what propels your sewing to the next level. It really does. And that's what you come to learn. And for instance, I'm covering color. And what I was talking to Mr. Jim, we were having a great conversation about it this morning, is that I am so shocked that there are so many different things covered in sewing, but no one ever talks about picking the right colors for you. We all come in different shades, hues, coloring, tonal groups, all that stuff, but no one recognizes that. So that's my job to bring that in, especially, again, I'm a certified color consultant. So just to give you a quick example, there's a difference between knowing your colors and wearing your right colors. For instance, I know mine, and this is just a representative color flag. So these particular colors have qualities and characteristics that are inherent to them.
And that's what you guys will be learning.
That's what you'll be learning, because knowing that is the difference between picking your right type and group of colors versus picking something that isn't as good. And you can really see the difference in how this color on my skin, can't you, Mr. Jim?
Right.
Which one do you think looks better?
This one does for you.
And there's a reason, and that's what I explain to everybody. And I also have my color course coming out. It's coming out this week. On Monday, whatever date that is. So you can get that as a primer. But when I do the workshop, it's going to be definitely hands-on. You can learn more in depth too. So
let me just show, for argument's sake, if you guys will notice, a lot of these are the same colors, but it's the shading, it's the hue of them, and for everybody's tone. And then, like anything else, ladies, what color is your hair today?
Yeah, and it's a science. And if you know me, you know my history. I do have I am a scientist. I am a sewer, but I am a scientist, and I'm a researcher and very analytical that way, because to understand color really is a science in of itself. It's more than just looking, because there's your undertone and your overtones. What we look at is someone's overtones. So you can make a judgment about what you think works. But it's really what's happening beneath the surface that determines what works best with you. It's the reason why a lot of women can't find the right foundation color. They're trying to marry that color to something, but they don't know exactly how to pick up the right coloration in their skin, what to look at. So what I do is, again, I'm all about getting to the heart of the matter, like Mr. Jim. And what I do is teach sewers to pretty much categorize, determine exactly what type. Because he's absolutely right. Anybody can actually wear any color. That's like the basic red, orange, yellow, green, like you see on the color wheel. To be quite honest, just like this, you can pretty much, anybody can wear any color. But it's what happens to these colors. We don't just have 12 colors floating out there in the universe. No. There are millions of colors. And that's what makes it difficult, because we don't really know how to categorize those colors. And once you find your little color category and you know how to work it, everything you wear looks fantastic. So anyway, check out my color course. I'll put a plug for that. It is awesome. You're gonna love that. And then sign up to come to the workshop.
Sure.
Or retreat, and you will get more of it. Because
you will. And you know, like anything else, like I say, all my life I've always heard of one thing: knowledge is king.
Oh my gosh,
now
yes.
it's queen.
Oh, thank you.
Just my queen. But I have set myself out here for many, many years that I've been teaching. Most of my students have gotten the maximum out of it, and I've had some that didn't. And there are reasons for that too, and I understand now. I used to think I could teach anybody, and how wrong I was, because sewing, like anything else, it's just not for everybody.
Oh, it isn't.
It's just not for everybody.
There's so much that goes into that.
Right. But if you're dedicated, it's easier than you think.
There you go. And it does come down to, and we're not beating your head, but it comes down to what you know and what you can put into practice. And my motto in life is, I don't want to spend all my time just doing a bunch of stuff and spinning my wheels. Yeah. I got to learn the best way to do it. One of my English teachers, my AP English teachers from high school, it always stuck with me. You know what she used to say? She said, perfect practice makes perfect.
There you go.
There's this whole thing about, if I just keep doing it, keep doing it. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting something different to happen. But if you can learn the best way to practice something, you can get that energy style. If you can know what that color is or what style fits your body, and you can put that into practice and do that over and over, that's when perfection happens. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah. I think we done said a mouthful. I
think so. You know, I just want to, like I say, I'm excited about that. I'm continuing to sew, but I'm also coming out with a new YouTube site, which will be called, you guys have heard this phrase before.
It's his signature.
The brother from Harlem with the high school education. And I'm going to tell what Harlem meant to me. And I'm going to give some history on a lot of things that, for those who had never been to Harlem, have heard things. They aren't all accurate. Now, what I'm giving you is my accurate living there, associating there, opposed to what you might hear. Now I say hear, because there's a lot of text that has the factual fact. Now I'll be sharing that with you on the show, and mainly telling you how Harlem has changed.
And you know, there's a need for this, because Mr. Jim's a man of many talents, as we know, and one thing he truly is a bit of a historian. His recollection and understanding of times and things that were occurring. If you don't know, most of you've already gotten it. He has a book, his autobiography he wrote a good while ago. I don't know if he has one here. So this is not anything new. We know Mr. Jim. Mr. Jim does, he is a bit of a historian. So I think it's going to be really cool, and a lot of people have expressed interest and things he has to say. So he's grabbing that for us now. But again, we're super excited about the retreat. Thank you, Alethia and your gang, for being so welcoming to us. And we'll show it next time. Is that okay? Can you get your hand on it?
Yeah, I can. It's right here. I forgot it.
Oh, okay.
You know, see, I'm learning my way around my own studio.
New studio adjustments there. But while he does that, it's so much fun. I brought a little bit of my color course case, or my color case, and just to show that, you know, the world of color is pretty immense. And I just carry these around and I work with people. But anyway, we'll cover all that later. We'll go for it.
That's a book that I wrote. And as you see, it's the Apollo Theater on it, because I made clothes for a lot of the entertainers back then. And I'll be going over the who's and telling you how Harlem was and how the Apollo Theater was a catalyst for a long time.
Now, if you can just refresh it, especially for new people. Who did you sew for?
I was blessed to have, well, I'll go with some of the entertainers first. This is for older school people. I made clothes for Duke Ellington and Billy Strayhorn. Billy Strayhorn was the writer and arranger for most of Duke's music. A-Train, all of those type of big hits that he had. Then I made clothes for James Brown.
And he came through a lot, right? And I know you talked about that, with his circuit.
James Brown. I've made clothes for the Isley Brothers, Sam and Dave. I've done some things for a lot of the artists of that time that you guys might not have heard of. Edwin Starr, James and Bobby Purifier, Shorty Long, and I'm not going to mention the names of the songs. If I mention the names of the songs, you would know who they were.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the list is endless. We made clothes in those days for about 70% of the acts that performed in the Apollo Theater. I've also done work for Muhammad Ali in his days. It started when he was Cassius Clay. That's how far back I go with him. And then we continued to make clothes even when he became Muhammad Ali. Jackie Robinson, he was retired at the time, but made clothes for him. Now, let me say this. We were not their total wardrobe people.
Yeah.
Because they traveled around and they had people in several areas. But we did a large part of their wardrobes then. And then I'm going to talk about two catalysts for old historian buffs, about two people, and I'm going to make this short. I'm not going to get into their life. I'll get into that on the show. But if you've never heard of Jocko, Jocko's Rocket Ship Review, this was back in the 50s. And then there was a radio personality also named Montague the Magnificent. Now, I didn't do anything for them, but I'm throwing out names that people don't remember or never heard of. And these people were very important in the music industry back then. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But I'll get into more of that when the brother from Harlem with the high school entertainment show airs. And it'll be within a month.
And that'll be very exciting. It's a really nice spin-off from what we're doing here to have kind of that going on. And but we will continue this show, so I guess we'll just kind of give you an update on what that's going to look like. We'll be back on schedule now. We have to decide on frequency, but we do know that we like the talk show kind of theme here, and we know that there, of course, there's a lot of people doing sewing and stuff like that, so we don't want to kind of be redundant and showing people how to sew zippers and things like that. I mean, Mr. Jim has videos out there for that. We have he put some stuff on YouTube, but what we do want to do is talk about sewing related issues, what it looks like now, really help give a good perspective to what we do as sewers. So we'll be picking up some of the projects we're working on, talking about the whys we do certain things, whys we don't. I'm working on a prom dress now, a stretch blue velvet one, so I'll probably bring in some stuff about that, and we'll talk about the ins and outs. Do some problem solving, talking, maybe not a lot of sewing, maybe some demonstrations, but we love just kicking back, being able to talk about our craft and get you to open your mind up to so many possibilities.
Because a lot of the things that we talk about as far as the craft relates to also your everyday life.
Yes, that's right.
That's all talk shows talk about.
Yeah, and embraces part of someone is,
No, we're not The View or this or that.
We're not going to be controversial,
no,
I promise.
No, we won't do that,
We won't fight each other.
But we are the Tailor and the Dressmaker.
That we are, and that we will continue to be. So thank you so much for your time today.
Sure.
So happy to have you back. Forgive, this is our first video, so we know maybe the lighting might be off.
We'll get all that corrected.